You guys want to get into some more depressing shit?
Let's keep it going. Let's keep spiraling down, dude.
Well, and I think, this isn't a topic that we ever dodge by any means. This isn't like a conversation we ever like try to avoid. It seems to be more like coming up in the NHL of late. To be honest, I don't know why, but it is. And I don't think we like ever dodge it, but it's definitely at a point where you cannot at all avoid these types of conversations or this topic. And that is the, the ongoing dialogue and even just put it, the issue of racism in the sport of hockey and the game of hockey, not just the NHL, but the game itself as a whole.
And just inclusivity in general, more than, all race, sexual preference, all that stuff. It's
creeds, colors, and everything in between. For sure. So to shed light on the background, if you're listening to this, you obviously know what we're talking about. If you're listening to us, you're abreast to the mainstream. There's nothing else going on in the hockey world. So it's really the biggest story of the past week, besides the possible return of the league. Akim Aliu, who's no stranger to the game of hockey, he, we a lot of us know him from his coming outs, talking about his struggles as a young black player, and being stifled coming up as a player. He recently put out an article through the Players Tribune where he detailed a lot of that experience and how his life was growing up. I read the article. It was extremely, extremely insightful and impactful. And not to undermine it in the slightest. These stories are not uncommon. There's a lot of people who struggle like this, and it's really, really good and brave of Akim to be the one of many to kind of say, hey, look, this is something that someone's going through. There's a lot of guys like me who have to deal with this. Here's my story.
Yeah.
And to kind of just give it a little bit to kind of summarize a lot of it, he grew up in, I believe, Germany, was it Germany or Ukraine? Somewhere Eastern Europe.
I want to say Germany, but I couldn't say for sure.
Right. So mother's Eastern European descent. And I don't want to mix up where his father's from, but his father was also was foreign to whatever country his mother's from. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Black man. So they had Akim. So he grows up a mixed child in Ukraine or Germany. This is all the reason why this matters is because it's all relevant to his story. They moved to Canada. So he moves to Canada as a young black boy who not only he doesn't speak French, but he doesn't even speak English. Sorry, you hear me?
You froze a little bit.
Yeah.
We're back. We're good. The young man didn't even speak English, French. He spoke German. So he's a young black boy coming from Europe speaking German. That's a unicorn to some of these people. They've never seen anyone like that. So he's going through a very, very difficult time. I mean, I can't put into words the way he did what he had to go through. To wrap it up and not to tell his story, read the article if you haven't read it. He went through a lot of shit. He suffered a lot of bullying, a lot of hazing. Mm-hmm. Not uncommon for a lot of players. It's much, much more difficult when it's a race issue, when it's race provoked, when racism is the backing behind it. One incident in particular where he didn't want to participate in a hazing ritual, and the next day at practice, he had all of his teeth pretty much knocked out by a stick, by Steve Downey, as he put it. No one did anything, right? No one tried to stick up for him. That to me was probably the most shocking part.
Did no one stuck up for him?
And that was the result of not participating in the hazing. I mean, I've been in sports. I've never been on anything that high level of caliber athletic, but hazing's not uncommon. I'm not appropriating it. I'm not justifying it, but I've seen it. I've been a part of it. I've witnessed it. I've been hazed. I've hazed people. And I've never seen it where if someone really didn't, there wasn't much where it was bad enough to where someone like couldn't really do it. Or if someone really couldn't do something, the consequences of that were not going to be worse than what the thing was.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously it's just unspeakable. It's terrible to treat another person, another human being like that. And we know in this case it was much more motivated than just the not participating in the hazing. Right? There's a bigger issue there on Downey's part. So to kind of keep this mumble mumbo jumbo. And I think it's, to be blunt, that's the reason why these conversations don't happen a lot. It's difficult. It's not easy, especially for someone like us. We're fucking goofy white kids. We don't know. We don't have the experience that these players have who are minorities and who are marginalized. We're not marginalized people. I think we can only do our best to come from a perspective of empathy, mild understanding that, we want other human beings. Well, of course but just on the level of wanting people to be brought up and not ever be put down, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or what they believe in, or what they look like. Just fucking what they look like. I mean, it's insane. So he told his story. It hit the internet hard. Did I leave anything out there? Am I missing anything?
I don't think so. The name of the article is "Hockey is Not for Everyone," correct? Just
yes.
Hockey is not for everyone. Read it. The Players Tribune. Definitely go read it.
Yep.
A couple people got a little backlash from it. I don't know too much about the situation. I know, Josh, you were talking about it.
So the internet did what it did. As usual, as we are now. I mean, I'm not even going to front. White people took it on themselves to be the most vocal about everything that was said.
Of course.
Making their stances, and which of course was mostly taking the time to call out the people who didn't say enough. I mean, this is so distracting to the real issue, but it's so frustrating to me when we're trying to focus on fixing what Akim's talking about. And I don't think people realize you don't achieve that by finding and putting in lists and putting together groups of people who aren't saying verbatim what he's saying, and then tying that to not believing or agreeing with him. Like there was someone who went and reached out to the Pittsburgh PR and got a quote from them, which was like they quoted, like, "We don't know how we can comment on this right now. Like, we don't know, like, what we can provide to this current thing." And like that quote got put out into the ether, and people absolutely shitted all over the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's like, dude, like, you're like, are you asking them, is racism bad? Like, what are you trying to get them to do here? Like, of course they think Akim went through a lot of horrible stuff, and they want to help anyone. Was
he in Pittsburgh's system? Is that why they asked Pittsburgh?
I don't know. Maybe was he on their ECHL affiliate?
I don't know.
I thought that was all through Calgary. I don't know. If he was, then maybe they need to say something. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to fucking say like it's not their problem, but if like, how removed does someone have to be before they just don't have to say something, or they can believe in they can believe in what's right without vocalizing it, I guess. And then aside from that, there were a few people who chose to. Obviously, there were some fucking assholes, but they don't matter. There were a few people who chose to make some maybe poor choice of words, poor timing choice of words, some worse than others. So at the time this came out, shortly after, two NHL players made tweets. One was Taylor Hall, the other was Robin Lehner. So Robin Lehner tweeted out just something which was kind of on brand for him, just talking about, not letting any negativity bring you down. No matter what happens, you can bring yourself up. Anything's possible through God, that kind of thing. Yeah. And people are like, yo, dude, read the room. Really bad timing, because that's not the case for everyone else, man. Some people have it harder based on other things. Yeah. And that's where you get all the fucking all the whites going, well they're black, so they have it harder. Like, doesn't that just sound racist? Like, doesn't that just like sound like doesn't that like backhandedly sound fucked up? I just hate that shit.
I know what you're saying. I definitely know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you mean. But
like, you're not them. Like, what are you like? Who are you calling them? Like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, it's just so fucking. No, I
know what you mean. But Leonard's tweet did kind of. You did have to look at it somewhat, because it came out hours after the article did, a couple hours. And you're just kind of like, timing. Like, come on, man! Like,
and there's also, he's known to have a political past that lends conservative, which nowadays is pretty much you can't be conservative nowadays.
Yeah. And he's got a history of he's got some racial issues in his own past, which he himself has kind of like, I would say he's kind of like repented for somewhat. He said he's changed a lot of who he is. He's had other demons that everyone knows about. So there was a couple contextual things that went along with this tweet that I think led to Twitter coming at him for it. So
to that, you're right. Yeah, he spoke and defended himself pretty quickly. And was pretty blunt about, look, this has nothing to do with Akim. If I was going to direct anything at anyone, I would direct it at them. Just bad timing. I mean, I think he knew that. He replied to a few folks and made his site clear. It was amazing how quickly the internet backpedaled. I mean, I saw the same people who were saying like really horrible stuff to Robin Leonard get a reply from him and then say the exact opposite thing. Yeah. And it's just like, gee, you conditionless twats. But it is what it is. Someone else who tweeted out, who I don't think has backtracked it unless I missed something and really fucked up here. Taylor Hall tweeted out like a picture of a note he got from a coach. And it was like, if I missed something, I think the note was something about like how he was like not going to make it. Like the whole note was like something like him as like when he was young and a coach told him like he didn't have he probably wasn't going to be that high of a skilled player. And then he was in his tweet like thanking that coach for shitting on him, because if he didn't get shatted on, he wouldn't have persevered, and then use that to say like youth hockey coaches are the best and he's never had a bad coach. And that was like, I'm definitely paraphrasing, but that's the gist, and that's how it came off. And that was again hours
you can't
after
say, see, I took all my shit I got and I've
never met a bad
stronger
coach
from it. And it's like, well, it goes back to that whole, you probably had a much different experience coming up through the junior hockey ranks. It just doesn't work the same, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just doesn't work the same. So, but he didn't. I don't think he clarified it. I don't think he deleted it. I don't think he tried to say anything. So everyone's down his throat. Not a good look. Not a good time tweet, my guy.
No, real bad, real poorly timed.
But to kind of back away from that, because that's not the point. It happened. It's relevant. It took place, but it's an ongoing thing. I know that Akim spoke with Gary Bettman shortly after his original story came out, and I think and in his article he said those talks are ongoing. I think they're gonna look to do more to have minority coaches being interviewed for different coaching positions.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean you have to look at those in writing things behind policies that help promote that. Call it affirmative action, call it whatever you want, but it's important. I mean, it's absolutely important. There's a reason that talent, and that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about like, oh, you have to have more minorities because they have to be represented. We're not just doing it for the sake of doing it. We're doing it because these are really, really talented people. These are important human beings that bring a beautiful thing to our game. Not just because they're black. That's great too. But they play hockey. And we're talking about hockey. This is a bigger issue, but as it refers to hockey, like these are people who are bringing great things to our game. We want these people in our game because what they do for our game. If they're black, that's great too. It's great too. But it's not written in to help these folks. It's just not. Sadly, it needs to be. Definitely. I said a lot of that like pretty shittily, like obviously, but I know that everything that we're doing here is from a place of good intent, and we're all about Akim's message. And it's needed,
it's important in the league right now that he is speaking out about his experience and getting it broadcasted widely.
So the game can evolve. It's not for right now. You know what I mean? It's not going to get fixed right now, but for the next set of kids coming up, the next set of young minority kids cannot ever have to feel the way he felt. So they can play this game. And so they can, in any other situations, they can do any other thing they love to do.